What a guy. What a little bitch.
Alright, rock and rollers, I don't know what to say. I gave James Gunn the benefit of the doubt when he took over DC and thought he could do some good. But over time, he keeps proving me wrong, case in point with the news that broke recently. I'ma get straight to the point. Yesterday it was reported that Christina Hodson, who wrote Birds of Prey, the unreleased Batgirl movie, and The Flash, is going to be writing the upcoming DCU feature debut of Batman, Batman the Brave and the Bold.
Oh, hell no! Hell no! Whoa!
I honestly don't know what to say. We all kinda had a feeling that Gunn didn't understand the character of Batman, and rumors speculated that he didn't know what to do with the character for the DCU, and I think this announcement of the writer just proved it. Before we get too ahead of ourselves, let's look into the other movies Christina has written to see if maybe she was having a bad day when she wrote The Flash, or she wasn't bringing her A game. Let's look. Yeah, it looks like the DCU Batman is cooked. Pack it up, boys, let's go home. Like, look at this list. Albeit Fast X Part 2 hasn't been released, so we can't say anything on that. And I have not seen Shut In or Unforgettable, so I can't comment on those two. But Birds of Prey was pretty bad. The Flash I found ungodly boring and stupid. Bumblebee is the only great thing on this list she's written. And so far, that's not a good ratio. One good movie doesn't make up for a lot of shit bad ones. I've already seen some people say that Batgirl would have been a good movie if it was released, and truthfully, we don't know that. The film got shelved for tax purposes, which is the reason Warner Brothers gave, and Peter Safran, who's currently co-president of DC Studios with Gunn, said that the film was unreleasable, but I'm pretty sure the real reasons we'll probably never know. People kept hyping up Batgirl, saying it was supposed to be amazing because Michael Keaton was coming back as Batman, Brendan Fraser was supposed to be Firefly, but honestly, given Christina's track record, it probably wouldn't have been that good, and I can see why Warner Brothers decided to cancel it. The article in The Hollywood Reporter says the usual stuff about who Christina is and her previous works, and how DC is developing a new Batman movie that's going to be focusing on Bruce and his son Damian, blah blah, stuff we already knew from James Gunn's announcement. But there are two paragraphs that I found fascinating. The article reads that Andy Muschietti is still currently attached to direct, but that could change due to the success of It, Welcome to Derry. The two paragraphs read it as such. DC has faced conflicting currents in the development of its Batman movie. James Gunn and Peter Safran, who head DC, announced a Brave and the Bold project from their outset of their launching the superhero movie division in 2023. Andy Muschietti, who directed The Flash for Warner Brothers and the previous DC film division, was on board to develop and direct the project. But finding a writer and a take on the material proved for the longest time elusive. Muschietti remains on board, but his ultimate involvement depends on several factors, including timing and availability. The filmmaker now finds himself a hot commodity thanks to the muscular success of Welcome to Derry, HBO's It series. A second season is now in the works, even if it has not been officially renewed. Those paragraphs are interesting for a few reasons. One is that Muschietti might not direct Brave and the Bold given the success of Welcome to Derry. It would suck for the project to be done with development and get all the way to near production and then the director drop out due to other obligations. Why not just hire someone who has a clear schedule, or have Andy clear his schedule and say to Hollywood, hey, Batman's very important, I already am committed to this, I gotta focus on that. Something like that. The second part that I found fascinating is in the beginning of the second paragraph where it says, but finding a writer and a take on the material proved for the longest time elusive. I think this tweet sums it up perfectly. Are fans really supposed to believe finding someone to write Batman was elusive? In other words, finding someone who was willing to be micromanaged all the way through was elusive. Yep, sums it up perfectly. That tweet says it best. They want someone to make their version of Batman and have that director have no creative vision whatsoever, so it'll fit within the DCU. Same thing Marvel does. It sucks as a director because you're at the mercy of the studio, but I sort of don't blame the studio in that regard since they have a plan and a formula and they need to stick with it. It's just a weird, messy situation you can't do anything about. One thing I can't get out of my head is Christina and Andy are the same duo who gave us The Flash. Let's not kid ourselves. The Flash wasn't a good movie whatsoever, no matter what anyone says. That's why it bombed spectacularly at the box office. I remember Gunn saying that The Flash is one of his favorite superhero movies before it came out. I thought it was just to build hype, but it looks like he actually told the truth, because why would he bring on the same writer and director? And PSA to James Gunn, Sam Raimi is available and wants to direct a Batman movie. I'm just saying, I know you think you know best, but Sam Raimi here, just little heads up. I've already seen some fanboys defending this movie, saying this new Batman movie will rock because of how they wrote Batman and The Flash, which I don't know what these people are smoking, because remember, this is the same team that gave us this.
Ego's far too big to say thank you to someone else. I developed this all-powerful persona to compensate for my childhood trauma.
And before anyone comments, but what about that scene between Barry and Affleck's Bruce Wayne where he talks about how scars made him who we are? This is a little insert, guys. Unfortunately, the first time I uploaded this video, we got copyright claimed by Warner Brothers, so I can't play the full clip, so I'll just explain the quote here. So Barry's on the ground, he talks about how if he could go back in time, he could save his mom and even save Bruce's parents, and Affleck's Bruce Wayne responds with, "Barry, these scars we have make us who we are. We're not meant to go back and fix them, and there's nothing broken with you that needs to be fixed. Take it from an old guy who's made a lot of mistakes. Don't live in your past. Live your life. Don't let your tragedy define you." And Barry responds with, "What if it's supposed to define me? Your tragedy made you a hero." And Bruce responds with, "It also made me alone."
What I'm talking about! That's why he's there than me! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
And before you Andy Flash fanboys come at me, if you do any research, you realize that Affleck wrote that scene for Bruce, which makes sense as to why it's so much better than his other scenes or the rest of the movie for that matter. My last point about this subject is, if they want to make this movie work, they need to get the casting of Batman right. Right now, he's not been cast, only rumors have swirled. The biggest kind of like not fan cast, but the biggest rumor at the moment is that the actor Brendan Sklenar, I think that's how you pronounce it, sorry if I didn't say it right, is the top rumored to play the DCU Batman. I'm gonna be honest, I haven't seen this dude before, so I can't judge his acting or anything like that, or this fan casting just yet. But if Andy does end up directing with Christina writing, pray for this man, he's gonna need it. I know a lot of people want Robert Pattinson's Batman to merge over and become the DCU Batman, which makes sense since he's already established. And I gotta admit, when you put him side by side with David Cornsweet's Superman, they look good together, like really good. However, even though they look good together, I do not want this to happen. Keep Matt Reeves' Batman universe as far away from Gunn's DCU as possible. I might make a future video on this topic because there's a lot more I want to say, but I'll just briefly say, I think it's best if Pattinson's Batman stays where he is in his own universe. Just take a look back from the first Batman movie, to the Penguin series on HBO, to the upcoming Batman Part 2. I mean, look at this cast. Look at all these A-list talented actors, and these are just the only ones they've announced so far. There could be more. It would suck for all these talented actors' talent to be wasted on Gunn's sense of humor and style. Look guys, I was excited for Gunn's universe when it was first announced, but all that hope and optimism is gone, and this move about bringing Christina on board as writer drives that point home even more. I could be wrong, maybe she delivers a banger Batman script and it comes out amazing. That could happen. Unlikely, but it could. Given her recent track records with superhero movies though, I think we're in for a big, colossal disappointment. Batman and the overall DC movie universe deserves better. It deserves to be written by someone who actually likes and cares for the characters and its universe. I know Gunn has his style with jokes and everything that works for some characters, but that cannot work with Batman. This move right here perfectly showcases how James Gunn is the wrong choice for DC, and even worse, is the wrong person to be the creative force on a Batman movie.